Well, I asked, where's the beef? Let's call this for what this is. Oh my God! They are so hopelessly woke. How dare you? That is the intellectual capital of the left today. Give me a break. You are now watching the Daily Roundup. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Daily Roundup on this, a Wednesday, May 31st, 2023. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host. Folks, do you know that today is National Fisherfolk Day? And she does not celebrate that because nobody in the world except for Liberal MP Greg Sabrara calls fishermen fisherfolk. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing there, Sheila?
I'm doing great, David. Thank you for the very first wrestling-style introduction for me in the brand new studio. I'll cherish it forever. I'm going to go back and clip it for myself. I'm doing great, but yeah, I think it's funny that you caught that because I was looking at the What Day Is Today website, and I was like, I wonder if David's going to go with that one or the self-deprecating one where it's National Senior Health and Fitness Day. I'm like, maybe he'll tell some jokes about himself.
You know, I am several years away from senior citizenry.
How many several?
But before you go on, I have a little surprise for you because I went deep into the Rebel News archives back when we were called Rebel Media, and lo and behold, I have an almost unrecognizable Sheila Gunn Reid weighing in on Fisherfolk. Check it out, folks.
No.
Oh, we're just going to play Greg Sabrara.
No. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Recently on a family vacation to Boston, I had a conversation with someone who would love their fishermen fisher folks would love to have access to Europe like our Canadian fishermen do. Fisher folks do. Excuse me. I grew up in Prince Rupert, British Columbia, and there's canneries and so forth, and I clean fish to pay for my university. And we have increased access for those fisher folks and those loggers.
Did you hear
that? No, we got a little glimpse of you.
That's too much already. My hair's too brown there. Yeah, whatever. But he looks, and I'm not one to pick on appearances, as you've just seen how I've morphed a little bit over the years. But he looks like if they made an older version of a Chucky doll. Like his face just feels like it could fit inside of a teacup.
But Sheila, the takeaway for me is this. He can't stick to his own politically correct woke script. He is instinctually saying fishermen. And he has to correct himself over and over to fisher folk. And, this attack on our language, the way we're, changing things, I don't know, in the name of equity, inclusion, diversity, I don't know. But I have never met an angler, Sheila, that has, even a female one, who says, I'm a fisher folk, even a fisherwoman, I'm a fisherman. And, I think the most incredible rebranding of a word was once upon a time, for those unfortunately confined to a wheelchair, we would call them crippled. And then that was replaced by handicapped. And then handicapped was replaced by disabled. And then briefly in the 70s, it never caught on, Sheila, but I remember this. Some whack job came out with the idea of basically combining handicapped and disabled, and the word was handy-abled. Now, to me, you know what that means? That means like he's a jack of all trades. He's really good with his hands. Right. He can go to Home Depot, buy wood, build a tree house, as opposed to the polar opposite. And of course, I think the most recent example, Sheila, you're not a homeless person anymore. You're a person experiencing homelessness. Please tell me what the difference is.
That's also like people of color or persons of color. And I'm like, you guys are dangerously close to going back to colored people,
yep.
which I'm reliably informed was slightly racist. So it's weird, like if they just invert how you say the words, all of a sudden it takes away all the negative connotations they tell you the other phrase had. It's very strange. It's magic.
It's unbelievable. Well, we got a packed sausage today. And let's start with the sports section, Sheila. It's
wait. Let me tell everybody what we're doing here. Pump the brakes, buddy.
I'm so
I have
sorry.
to tell everybody what we're doing. I know, it's the new studio. It's throwing you for a real loop. So this is the Rebel News daily live stream. It's called the Daily Roundup. It's normally hosted by David Menzies, who is all out of sorts today thanks to the new studio. He's disoriented and scared. And we talk about the news of the day completely unscripted. As you can see, we're 10 minutes into the show and we've actually spoken about nothing that was on the list of things that we should talk about. But it's fun and casual, and we like to get our friends at home involved. So you can watch us on YouTube, but that's a censorship platform and we're completely demonetized over there. But there are 1.6 million of you over there, so we don't want to abandon you. But if you want to contribute and get involved, might I suggest you move over to Rumble or Odyssey, or even locals.com. We have a very healthy, growing, percolating community happening over there. On Rumble, you can leave us a Rumble rant, question, query, comment, story idea. Pitch in a few bucks to keep the lights on here at Rebel News, and we'll do our best to read your feedback. On Odyssey, it's called a hyper chat, or you can reach out to us on Locals. And I think that's everything. Take it away, David.
And Sheila, I got to say, thank you for mentioning the new studio. I want to thank all our viewers for their contributions. This studio is unbelievable. It's got that new car smell to it. It's fantastic. In fact, I came in, I said to Efren and Olivia, it looks like the set of Star Trek The Next Generation. It's just such an upgrade. Let me throw up a little dialogue from yesterday's Enterprise. Attention all hands, as you know, we could outrun the enemy vessels, but we must remain until the Enterprise C enters the rift, and we must be successful so that history never forgets the name Enterprise. Picard out. What do you think of that, Counselor Troy?
She's the clairvoyant, right?
Pardon me?
She's the clairvoyant, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I am sensing that all of our viewers think you're an absolute nerd. That's the reading I'm getting from them.
I'll talk to you in my ready room after the show, Sheila. But anyways, as I said, speaking of sports, you think the Blue Jays would be, kind of keen to win a World Series? The last time that happened, if you can believe it, folks, Kim Campbell was Prime Minister for a day, I believe. You can Google that name.
I think it was about a trimester. She was.
What's that?
It was about a trimester. Like 3-4 months, something like that.
And I guess of course, in this town, the Jays have bragging rights with the Maple Leafs. It was Lester Pearson in office as the Prime Minister last time they hoisted Lord Stanley's mug. But oh no, the Blue Jays are hypersensitive about wrong thought and wrong speak because they are owned by one of the most deplorably woke corporations in Canada. I speak of Rogers. And basically, what this individual did, folks, is he went on social media. This is Anthony Bass, a pitcher, and he expressed his support for the likes of the boycotts for Bud Light and Target for their crazy LGBT marketing initiatives. Oh, no. As much as diversity is our strength, not a diversity of opinion. And even though the vast majority of people are on Bass's side, and my proof for that, folks, is just check out Anheuser-Busch's and Target's stock price right now. They plunged by billions of dollars. Anthony Bass was hauled before the podium to do a Cersei-like walk of shame from Game of Thrones and give a groveling apology. Let's throw to it, Sheila. Then I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, let's do the terrible, terrible thing that he's accused of doing. Let's show that clip first so people can really get a sense of how disproportionate the outrage is.
Yes.
So let's go to the first thing. Like, I think it's an Instagram post. Let's see what Anthony Bass is up to on Instagram. I don't know anything about Anthony Bass. I don't know anything about baseball whatsoever.
Here's the reason biblically why I believe Christians ought to be boycotting Target and Bud Light and any other corporation that's pushing the things they're pushing. I think a lot of people make this into a political issue, or they say, oh, what's the big deal? If, is it really going to make that big of a difference if I'm shopping there or not shopping there? Here's what the Bible says. It tells us what to do as Christians in Ephesians chapter 5. It says this: take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them, for it is shameful to even talk of the things that they do in secret. So what does that mean, to take no part? Well, what's Target do? It's a business. They make money. They sell things. And to take part in that is to take part in that God of mammon that they're serving, and to take part in the darkness that they're purveying and getting out to the world and shoving into children's faces. And to take part in that is to give them your money. And I believe the Bible gives us radical precedent to say, no, we are running from that, and to instead expose those things, to shout it to all the people that have ears to hear that this is evil, this is demonic. We won't stand for it. We're not going to go to the stores anymore, and we're not going to give them our money. We're going to let our voice be heard so that people can see the light, and so that people can be pulled out of the darkness.
Okay, so that's not Anthony Bass, but he shared that on his Instagram, from what I understand.
And poor Mr. Bass.
Pretty tame.
Oh, very tame. But I feel my heart breaks for him, Sheila, because Mr. Bass obviously thought we have freedom of speech in Canada. We don't. We don't have a First Amendment. And so that was a couple of days ago. And yesterday, here's Mr. Bass walking the plank to save his job. Check it out, folks.
I recognized yesterday I made a post that was hurtful to the Pride community, which includes friends of mine and close family members of mine, and I am truly sorry for that. I just spoke with my teammates and shared with them my actions yesterday. I apologized with them, and as of right now, I'm using the Blue Jays resources to better educate myself, to make better decisions moving forward. The ballpark is for everybody. We include all fans at the ballpark, and we want to welcome everybody. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, not
ballpark
everybody.
Yeah, he's at the old ballpark gulag. He's been clearly re-educated. He just read a script from, I don't know, MLB, probably the Blue Jays organization. Where's his union rep, by the way?
Oh.
To say, like, actually, this guy has freedom of speech and freedom of religion. He didn't say anything hateful. Actually, that post said, we've got to help these people. It wasn't like, let's genocide them. It was very biblically sound if you are in a small O, Orthodox, C, Christian. Didn't say anything out of line there. But yeah, this is the result of a 3-day-long struggle session for this poor man.
And and Sheila, once again, it shows, don't apologize to the lunatic fringe, because as you can see by that headline and Blog TO, calls grow for Toronto Blue Jays to ditch Anthony Bass for promoting LGBTQ hate. That's the thing about the left. They believe in a economic death sentence for wrong speech, wrong thought. Even in real crime, Sheila, first-degree murder. You're out in 25 years unless decreed a dangerous offender, which is very, very rare. But for a thought crime, you are in the penalty box forever and ever. Yeah. And what do you want him to say? He apologized. And here's another one. Oh, of course, from the Toronto Star. The Jays have to get rid of Anthony Bass. How many strikes does it take? I think it's 3 strikes. I don't know where he is.
Sports writer. That's the dumbest headline I've ever read. Like, it's too cutesy by half, that headline.
Oh yeah.
This is exactly right, David. This is why you don't apologize, because it's never good enough. You can't apologize for a sin from which you cannot receive redemption. Because these people don't believe in redemption, except for violent offenders, sex offenders, all those people. They can go, do their penance, come back, and everything's fine. All is forgiven. For them, the greatest crime, which is irredeemable, is disagreeing with them.
100%, Sheila. But I'll tell you what is really going on behind the scenes. Blue Jays management, by the orders of the corporate owners, they went to Mr. Bass and they said, you either deliver an apology, Sheila, or you're going to be pitching for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. By the way, that is an actual Blue Jays minor league team. How funny. The guy's name is Bass, Fisher Cats, and it's National Fisher Folk Day. There is some synergy going on here.
It's a lot.
And the story behind the story, I think especially in a market like Toronto, where there is a large, probably Canada's largest population of LGBT people. LGBT people, Sheila, are dinks. Double income, no kids, typically. That means lots and lots of disposable income. That means for a baseball team, a lot of potential season ticket holders and a lot of suckers that will buy that overpriced crap in the gift shop, all made in China. That's what's driving it. It's the bottom line guised in the view of diversity, inclusion, yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to pose a question, and we'll never know the answer unless he gets traded there. I wonder, Sheila, if Bass was shipped to either the Tampa Bay Rays or the Miami Marlins, which play in the free state of Florida, I wonder if this is an issue at all. Because
not at all.
That's what I'm thinking. I think this is a Toronto-centric thing. Maybe there'd be select other markets, like if he was with the San Francisco Giants. But I think if this was in the state of Florida under Governor DeSantis plus the First Amendment, no, this is a nothing burger. What do you say?
No, you're exactly right. This is a Toronto problem, like so many of the things in this country. As in Trudeau, also a Toronto problem. This wouldn't happen in so many major league markets. It just happens that Toronto is one of the worst places, I think, on the face of the earth, except for the people in Toronto. Your government is terrible. You keep giving us Trudeau, but the people are great there, and I feel really sorry for them that this is the constant spectacle that their city keeps putting on for them.
Sheila, on that note, by the way, I agree with you. I'm a lifelong Toronto booster. I was born here at Women's College Hospital. I wonder if they call it that still. Like, what's a woman?
What is a woman?
And I've always been, but in recent, I'd say the turning point might be the last 10 or so years, coincidentally, when John Tory was at the helm. But you know what, Sheila? When you say Toronto is terrible, I'd like to quote Randy Bachman, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. Because if that Marxist-Leninist Olivia Chow, who is allegedly the prohibitive frontrunner for the seat of mayor, the rails are going to be greased for Hogtown to become the next San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. She's all about homeless encampments in the parks. She's all about so-called safe injection sites. She's all about more bike lanes to increase the gridlock, as well as demolishing the Gardiner Expressway. This city is going to go to hell. It is going to need, as Jack Nicholson as the Joker said in the 1989 Batman film, Sheila, this town needs an enema. That's what's going to happen to Toronto.
Yeah. And for those people in Toronto who are going to send me angry emails, I promise you I say the same mean things about Edmonton all the time. We should bump along to this next story because I really can't go late today.
Okay.
Let's touch on just how crazy elementary educators are.
Oh, boy.
So this tweet, let me see if I can pop it up here. This tweet from an account representing elementary educators. It's the ETFO. It's a union committed to public education, social justice, and equity. We represent 83,000 elementary teachers and Ontario education workers. Good gracious. So these are the people teaching your little ones. And they have to say, what did they say here? What's this? horrible tweet. Across Canada and worldwide, what we are witnessing is an alarming trend of they move around where they put the two, and it's very confusing to me because I never know where the two is, and then I train my brain to read it, and then it ends up wrong. Alarming trend of 2SLGBTQI plus hate, conservatism, and bigotry, disguised as concern for children. We must not allow human rights to be rolled back. Creating a safer, inclusive space and Ontario schools starts with you. I like how they've just lumped in personal choice, fiscal responsibility, and freedom, and preserving our culture, I guess, right in there beside hate and bigotry.
Yeah,
wow.
Like it's devil worship, Satanism, conservatism. This is how tone deaf they are, Sheila. This is how Marxist they are. That if you're right of center, and by right of center I mean right of Joseph Stalin, they are going to vilify and demonize you. By the way, you raise an interesting point, and we have to address this because this initial gram of letters and numbers that they're into, and it's amazing because the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, they were promoting just like 5 years ago, Sheila, a 17-letter long initial gram. That's the one that got
I would be happy if... Oh, yeah, it got Ledrew fired.
It got Ledrew fired for defending freedom of speech in Canada. He can't make this up when he went on the Tucker Carlson show. But, I did hear from, I won't identify him, but it was a gay broadcaster who said he was as frustrated as everybody else. And he said, why don't we just call it the queer community, right? And I guess...
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't that take them all in? I don't know. I have no idea. I wish these elementary educators would teach kids the 26 letters of the alphabet and how they go together to form words instead of whatever these acronyms are. Because I guarantee you they can... lots of little kids can hammer off these acronyms because of activist teachers, but get them to read? That's a different story, isn't it?
Oh, Sheila, listen, Lincoln J., our ace cameraman, and I, we were down at Danforth Tech Collegiate Institute yesterday. Used to be, folks, you went to a school, at least this was the case when I was in the Toronto District School Board system, when I went to my old alma mater, Lawrence Park. It was to learn the 3 R's. Well, yesterday it was the 3 drag queens that took over. And it's not even June yet. This plays into your point, Sheila. It was Pride Day, Pride Week, Pride Month. Now we are morphing into Pride season, a.k.a. that piece of calendar real estate known as summer.
Summer.
But it's not even summer yet either, right? That's June 21st.
Well, and look how many... We should run a tally, actually, the Pride season death count. How many people get canceled because of Pride season? We've seen 1 baseball player already, and that happened like 3 days before Pride season kicks off. We should run like the Pride season death count of how many careers have been killed by Pride season just by not properly affirming the most hypersensitive people on the face of the earth.
And on the total flip side, Sheila, you mark my words at the Toronto Gay Pride Parade later next month, you will see hundreds of people marching and even spectating fully naked. Gross. And despite the police presence, there will be no charges. Now, you can be topless even as a woman. I'm going back to the Gwen Jacob decision of 1995. Gwen Jacob in Guelph walking around on a very hot, humid day without her blouse, got charged and successfully fought the ticket. She said, if a guy can walk topless, so can I. By the way, I've only seen one member of the sisterhood in over 25 years take advantage of that newfound right. But anyways, I digress. Nobody's allowed to go around bottomless, right? I suppose if you're at a nude beach or a nudist colony, that's a different set of fish on this Fisher Folk Day. But Sheila, there will never be anyone charged. Why is that? If I went to, the Santa Claus parade, the St. Patrick's Day parade, and I got completely naked, which would be a really dangerous thing to do in the month of December or March when it's very chilly. I bet I would be rightfully gang tackled by members of Toronto law enforcement. Why the different set of rules when it comes to this parade in this community?
Is that a real question, David? Is that really a real question?
Okay, here's the question. What does nudity have to do with pride of your sexual orientation or gender identification? Explain that.
Well, and I have no idea, and it's counterintuitive, isn't it? If you want acceptance and you want people to not think of you as strange or other,
yep,
maybe quit acting strange or other.
Yeah. Yeah, double standard as always. Sheila, we have to take an important ad break for that fantastic journalism event that the Democracy Fund is organizing, I believe, in the month of August. I know this won't appeal to a lot of you folks, but maybe you know an aspiring journalist or someone that might be going to journalism school or planning to. And wow, this is a fantastic event. So let's roll that ad and we'll meet you on the other side. Yeah, and here's added impetus to come, folks. See Toronto before it fully goes into the toilet should Olivia Chow become the mayor. She can't do too much damage, I don't think, in 1.5 months. But and Sheila, I was paying very close attention to the guest list. I didn't realize this. Forgive me. Avi Yamini is coming. Is that correct?
I think he's appearing by Zoom.
Oh, again, I've never met our Wonder Down Under, and I'm so hoping to do that and buy him one of those Crocodile Dundee beers. What's it called again? I can't remember. It was all the
Foster's Lager.
Pardon?
Foster's.
Foster's, of course. Well, I don't know. I'll do something online to honor him. But anyways, folks, it's a star-studded cast that will be there, and it'll be fantastic learning experiences for all the young journalists. And I can't wait, Sheila. It was such a success last year.
It was fun. It was fun. We met a lot of young, up-and-coming journalists, and it's kind of fun to see them actually take what they've learned, and now they're working in, like, conservative media. Yeah. Like, they're behind the scenes. Some of them you know because you've read their work in True North. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. And I see them out and about sometimes.
Well, you know, Sheila, the only sour note was the fact that you brought me a beautiful gift from Northern Alberta. It was that sweatshirt I so admire when you're wearing it, Camp Crystal Lake with Jason Voorhees rowing his canoe. And I think you gave it to an unmentionable Rebel News person who shall not be mentioned, as I said, and somehow it got lost. So, So if you're coming back again, please feel free to, I don't know. Do you have the funds in the bank account, Sheila, to buy another one for me?
Yes. The problem is you wear, I think your size is big galoot. And so it was very difficult to find that shirt in your size. So I had to order it. And so I'm going to have to reorder one for you because you are a redwood of a man, I think.
It's funny, Sheila, you've triggered me because one day when I was still in high school, I was walking down Yonge Street and some real tough ruffian guy walked past me. And for no reason, I swear to God, no provocation whatsoever, he said, "Hey, you big galoot." I froze to the spot. I thought I was going to get punched or something. Thank God it didn't work out that way. I wasn't encountering, an Ontario school teacher protecting Busty Lemieux. Anyway, why don't we
let's do Sean Fraser. Let's talk about Sean Fraser because I actually did the math on this. This is Sean Fraser, our immigration minister, for some reason, weighing in and blaming the forest fires in Nova Scotia on climate change and not the natural cycle of the forest, coupled with cyclical weather patterns that form over the ocean and affect our weather patterns for years to come. But anyway, Sean Fraser, I don't know, somehow he's a forestry tech now. Let's listen to him make an idiot of himself.
I came to Ottawa this morning from my home province of Nova Scotia, where our communities are literally on fire. Thousands upon thousands of families have been displaced from their homes. Hundreds are watching as their homes may be turned into ashes. 8 months ago, Hurricane Fiona damaged our communities beyond measure, displacing not just homes, but sweeping people out to sea in some instances. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are peddling policies that they know will increase the level of pollution that is causing these severe weather events. We have one planet, Mr. Speaker. It is my home. It is yours. I will not stand idly by and watch it burn.
The honourable member.
Yeah, and that planet would be what, Mars? Or, no, let me correct that. Uranus has a better ring to it when it comes to Minister Fraser. You know, Sheila, this is so predictable. And again, so many people who should know better confuse climate and weather and conflate them. And it reminds me of, remember in your province when Leonardo DiCaprio was out there filming The Revenant many years ago. Good film, by the way. And
Revenant.
Yes. Thank you for the correction. And he witnessed for the first time a Chinook coming down the mountains and thought he was actually visibly witnessing climate change, global warming. And what I love about all the Alberta film hands working on that film, they play dumb and saying, oh, we've never seen anything like this before. You're right. The planet's going to hell.
Yeah, we've never seen anything like that before. That's why we have an Indigenous word to describe it. It's been happening for that long. But I actually did the math here for Sean Fraser. There are fewer hectares in Canada being burned by forest fires than ever. Now, it's forest fire season in Alberta and apparently in Nova Scotia. But I like how Sean, now, and I don't concede this point, but this is what Sean Fraser would have us believe. He says that pollution, and when liberals say pollution, they mean carbon dioxide and emissions, are causing climate change. And that climate change is causing forest fires that are burning Nova Scotia communities. Very concerning to Sean. And so because of that, I have to pay more for my commute. But Sean Fraser's commute, do you know what it is? Well, for him to go to work, it's a 3,000 kilometer jet ride from central Nova all the way to Ottawa. And he does that round trip once a week. 3,000 kilometers in a plane. Now, if Sean Fraser really believed that emissions were causing communities in his riding to burn down, why is Sean Fraser polluting so much? Now, either he is taking the unscientific approach that it's my emissions causing climate change and not his emissions climate change, or he doesn't really believe this nonsense either.
100%. And to politicize this tragedy, Sheila, because people losing their homes, that's terrible. I can't even imagine. And then to somehow, oh, this is Pierre Poilievre's fault. That's really rich. And
they're in charge. The Liberals have been in charge for 8 years, 9 years. Like, if climate change were a thing that you could stop with taxes, these are your fires, Sean Fraser. They're not mine. You're in charge.
And Sheila, I will give props to the Premier of Nova Scotia. He was justifiably furious at a press event earlier today because I think a handful of new fires started. And you know how they started, Sheila? There is a strict no burn rule. And a couple of Lugans started campfires. And another couple of Lugans, and I never understand this, even in the best of conditions, I guess maybe because I've never been a smoker, threw their cigarette butts out of their vehicles, right? And that That is the real problem, not some kind of global or planetary or solar system climate change. This is irresponsible human activity. And in those cases, I assume politics have nothing to do with it. By the way, Sheila, do you get that? I mean, I think it was the author Kurt Vonnegut Jr., and he hated the idea of people tossing their cigarette butts out of their cars. And he lived in Los Angeles, and he got around on his bicycle. And because there's such gridlock in Los Angeles, if he ever saw anyone throwing a cigarette butt, he would go pick it up, cycle like mad, catch up to the car, and throw it in, right? Return to sender. I'm not sure that's a very life-preserving move, but I love that spirit. But I don't understand this entitlement to litter, and in this case, it's worse than littering. It's creating arson.
Yeah. I remember the BC fires a few years ago that Catherine McKenna was in BC at the time, and she looked outside and said, look at all this climate change. Those were arson. Slave Lake was arson. Many of the fires that started in Alberta, they were arson. If you are an arsonist, let me tell you, Sean Fraser and the Liberals are your very best friend, because they're blaming me for your firebug propensities.
Sheila, it's funny you mentioned climate, Barbie, because I saw her at the Music Hall in Toronto. It was a Liberal. It was almost like a quasi-election event. It was just on the heels of Lav Scam and Jody Wilson-Raybould. So Trudeau was there, Climate Barbie was there, and it's the way they frame things. Because she was about to give a speech about more new carbon taxes, and she begins this way, Sheila. Hands up, everybody that's against pollution. Well, nobody in their right mind is pro-pollution, but this is not a pollution argument when it comes to a carbon tax.
That's why they change the words. That's why they start saying carbon pollution instead of carbon dioxide, because everyone's like, yeah, of course carbon dioxide isn't pollution. It's a inert gas. Like, who cares? That trees breathe. But when you say pollution, I'm against littering. I'm against pollution. Yep. That's why I burn my garbage. I don't want it laying around. But, that's why they play fast and loose with the words, because, of course, everybody is against pollution. But my definition is different than theirs.
And one last note, Sheila, if you want to see a ground zero event for litter, go to the public square in the minutes after a Greta Thunberg rally, and all these eco-weenies just drop their signs, their banners. There'll be somebody come by from the city to pick it up. We're not going to tote our own garbage home with us. The hypocrisy is unbelievable, Sheila.
I saw it firsthand at the UN climate change conference, because you're not allowed, I'm not allowed inside, right? So I have to snoop around the outside. And it's funny because there's people pamphleting everywhere, right, for their stupid little causes or their NGO or whatever. So they print these like pamphlets, which I guess is not great because you're killing a tree. I hear these people are environmentalists, but then you go like 4 feet away, and the garbage cans are overflowing with these pamphlets. They give them to people and they just chuck them in the garbage, and they're on the ground. They're not even trying to put them in the garbage can anymore. That's real pollution. That's real waste. But they're going inside to this stupid little convention where they tell me that I have to ride a bike everywhere because Sheila, of pollution.
Thank you for mentioning that, because this is another pet peeve of mine. If you see that a garbage receptacle is overflowing, don't put your garbage there. Like, especially if it's a pamphlet. It's paper. It's inert. It doesn't smell. Fold it up, put it in your pocket, and wait till you get to an empty garbage can or a half-filled garbage can. I don't understand this to begin with, but if you are branding yourself as an environmentalist and you're contributing to the original pollution of litter, shame on you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we should hit an ad break, our second one, because we're running a little late, and then we'll go into, I don't know. I'll let the producers pick and tell David one of these Trudeau China House of Commons clips, because it's in the description
yes,
of the video.
Takes on Trudeau.
So let's go to Poilievre after this. So let's hit the ad break and we'll go directly into Poilievre. And then if we have time, and I wouldn't mind, I would love to talk about this Adam Van Coverden video, because he's just a liar. Like, he's an absolute liar, and the data from Alberta plays it out. So let's hit our ad break, please. Thanks.
Living with spike protein in a post-pandemic world is something we all have to grapple with, whether you've had the virus, you've been vaccinated yourself, or if you're around those who were. The wellness company's Spike Support Formula is a daily supplement that can help you feel your best, and then stay that way. Go to twccanada.health to get back to that pre-pandemic feeling with Spike Support. Use coupon code REBEL to save 10% off these doctor-formulated products, which are rooted in science, and for a limited time, your first month's membership is only 99 cents. That's twccanada.health, coupon code REBEL at checkout. It's time to put your wellness back in the driver's seat.
Wants facts. Well, here's a fact. He would have me commit to following Section 12.1 of the National Security and Intelligence Committee Act, which would not only strip away my ability to speak about this matter, but would ban me from doing it right here on the floor of the House of Commons. That is a fact. The real question is, what is he so determined to hide? We know Beijing helped him in 2 elections. We know Beijing gave donations to his Trudeau Foundation. Is that why he's so determined to silence his critics and keep these secrets?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I know it's difficult for some people to remember, but the honourable member was at one point a minister of the Crown, and thereby subject to oaths of secrecy and cabinet confidences, and was able to handle secrets just fine at that point, including when he was Minister for Elections. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, he is choosing now to turn his back on the facts, because the facts would be inconvenient to the political argument he's trying to make right now. If that member was serious about this serious issue, he would allow the intelligence agencies to give him the necessary brief.
Honourable Leader of the
Again, blackface demonstrates why he is the master of the non-answer. It's kind of like, Mr. Prime Minister, what car do you drive? And he answers, my drapes are green. This is so tired. You can't get a straight answer out of this man, Sheila.
Let's try to walk ourselves into the point that he's trying to make. I think he was trying to make a point there. I'm not sure. But he's saying that Pierre Poilievre, won't allow intelligence agencies to give Pierre Poilievre classified information. Now, Pierre Poilievre is saying, I don't want this to be classified, so if they're going to give me information, it better not be classified because the public has a right to know. So Justin Trudeau is saying, why won't he just let us give him this information? But the greater point is, and I think Justin Trudeau inadvertently made it because he's stupid, is, yeah, we want you to give us the information, not just Poilievre, the rest of us. And he's saying, if you were taking this issue seriously, you would want the information. Yes, exactly. That's why we want an inquiry. That's why we want, yes, exactly. That's why we want an inquiry. And that is the point that he just inadvertently made, is that, yes, information is important and it should be in the hands of the people who need it so that they can make decisions about Justin Trudeau's behavior.
Yeah, you don't mind, do you, blackface? I mean, even though your best friend David Johnson suggested or advised otherwise, we still kind of want this inquiry. And again, I have to say, Sheila, Jagmeet Singh, he has to man up at some point. You can't be going on social media, criticizing these liberals, cutting up blackface, and then forever and ever propping him up in the House. I think this would be a political win, actually, for Jagmeet Singh, Sheila, if he said, can't go along with this deal anymore. Sorry, this is too important, especially since it was just revealed 2 days ago that an NDP MP was targeted by these people practicing Chinese interference. What is it going to take for this coward to become a man and pull the plug on this government?
Do you know what, Efron and Olivia? This is a great time to go to that clip that I asked you guys to dig up, or Efron, I asked you to dig up earlier. David hasn't seen it. It's not on the list. But the NDP really know who the real bad guys are. And it's not CCP influencers. It's not even the Liberals. Let's show who the NDP think the real bad guys are. This is who they think should be the target of foreign interference investigations.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so again, I just want to affirm that, just to correct my colleague, that the Alberta NDP won every seat in Edmonton and the majority of seats in Calgary. Now, Madam Speaker, we know the Conservatives, they're really more interested in flinging mud than looking for a solution. This is a matter of foreign interference, not just Chinese interference, Madam Speaker. Russia and Iran are also carrying out major covert operations. We only have to look at the United States in 2016 for evidence or to reports of Russian financing of the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa in 2022, which we know the Conservatives supported. But by singling out the Chinese, this is having a huge impact on the diaspora here in Canada. Do the Conservatives agree with Canadians that we should be investigating all foreign interference in elections? And also, do they agree that we need to deal with foreign interference before we go into another election, Madam Speaker, not after?
Okay, this guy's crazy, right? Like, he's crazy. We just had the Public Order Commission where everybody who knows something testified and said, yeah, there are no Russian operatives, no Kremlin financing in the Freedom Convoy. It's out there. The documents are out there. The testimony's out there. But he's still clinging to this thing that CBC said once and then had to retract as though it were true. And the NDP apparently are mad at the Conservatives about foreign interference, but they're not mad at the Liberals, and they're saying, well, we need to have an investigation before we get to the next election, and they're attacking the Conservatives on that. But the Conservatives are saying, yeah, we definitely do. Could you do us a favor and quit propping up Justin Trudeau so that we can have that investigation? Like, they're so insignificant, and they're shooting in the wrong direction. Bunch of idiots.
It's unbelievable. And, just this morning on News Talk 1010, the host had on one of the journalists as part of a Toronto Star investigation unit. Sheila's done a 3-part series on the biggest threat Canada's facing right now, and that would be the rise of white nationalism. And what was the first example that Grant LaFleche, by the way, Grant LaFleche, yes, folks, if that name rings a bell, that's the guy who libeled Alicia Herder, the St. Catherine's hairdresser, who found a loophole to exploit to open her salon as basically a movie test site or something like that. I can't remember the exact terminology, but you could do people's hair and makeup if it was for a screen test, and she did that.
Right.
And he libeled her. I believe he falsely reported that she wanted somebody beheaded. It was actually the opposite. Somebody called into her phone number and wanted her beheaded. So a little bit of libel there. I don't know where that lawsuit's going, but that's your Grant LaFleche. White supremacy, white nationalism, that's the biggest threat facing Canada. And the first example he pulls out of his hat is the Freedom Convoy. I mean, and I just want to say this to Premier Cherry Cheesecake. You and your brother had it right 10 years ago when you called Toronto Star journalists a bunch of maggots. How did it go from that to your government, Mr. Ford, giving Torstar Corporation a gambling license worth $500 million a year? Who's pulling your strings? Why are you such a sellout? But you want to talk about hatred online? That's an example, Sheila.
You know what? Let's move ahead because we've got 7 minutes left in the show and we have some chats to read. And I want to get to this clip from Adam Van Coverden. He's a Liberal MP, former Olympian, but you don't have to be smart to be an Olympian. So, and he proves it here. So let's hear. He's talking about harm reduction. So this is post what they call harm reduction, which is giving addicts government-funded poison and a government-funded facility in which to poison themselves, and those poisons are administered by a government worker. And they call that harm reduction. We don't call that harm reduction here in Alberta. We call that palliative care, when the government prolongs your death sentence. So anyways, let's listen to him, and then I'm going to pull up some data, because he's wrong and he's a liar and he should know better.
We rely on experts for that academic approach, for an evidence-based solution, and since Canada at large has been employing a safe supply and harm reduction approach and an evidence-based approach to solving for the opioid epidemic, there have been tens of thousands of overdose reversals. Lives are being saved. This is not work that's complete, it's ongoing. But the type of fact-free nonsense that's been coming out of the Conservative side on this lately is harmful, and it needs to stop. We rely on
No, yeah, this is Cabordan, the kayak kid. What he's prescribing for those unfortunate people that are dependent on illicit and illegal drugs, Sheila, I think in the kayak world, they call it going up Shites Creek without a paddle. You are dooming them to continued addiction, to deaths in an extreme case. And by the way, this is going to be one of the results of an Olivia Chow mayor system in Toronto. You're just going to see that go off the rails. I like what's happening in Alberta. Back in March, I saw Danielle Smith speak here in Toronto at a business function, and she talked about this fantastic system of getting addicts into dormitory buildings, teaching them how to budget, how to buy groceries. I know that sounds very basic, but if you've been on the streets and you've been high out of your mind for weeks or months, you got to go right back to the beginning. And that is putting people on the right track. They're getting clean and sober, and they're getting off these bloody drugs that the left seems to adore.
Well, that's the thing. He keeps prattling on about evidence. Well, I can show you evidence, because Alberta, as you rightly point out, is doing something completely different. We can compare ourselves to British Columbia.
Yep.
Because our approaches are polar opposite. We've got 30 years of data from the downtown east side about what harm reduction actually does to addicts, to the community, to their friends, family, to neighborhoods. Same thing in San Francisco, Los Angeles, all those places where they have this liberal tolerance for the drug, and they cloak it in compassion, but it's absolutely prolonging the misery of the addict and their families, because there are only two ways out of addiction: death or getting clean. That's it. And your death can come fast or slow. The government would like it to be slow and agonizing. Your dealer probably wants it to be fast. But in Alberta, we're doing something different. I think we might be up to 16,000 treatment beds, because this is a real crisis that is hitting the downtowns of our cities, but also suburban neighborhoods and rural places. And with addiction comes all the other social decay, the crime, the dereliction, all those things. So 16,000 treatment beds. We've removed the fee for treatment. So under the NDP, it was $40 a day. They're charging the most vulnerable people in our society to get life-saving care. So when the NDP won't shut up about the Conservatives are going to make you pay for healthcare, they were charging addicts for treatment. Revolting. But we also have recently passed a law, or Danielle Smith is going to pass a law, that mandates treatment for violent drug offenders. So if you are, the kind of wild-eyed meth addict who's threatening your family, guess what? The police are going to come with a butterfly net and take you off to treatment. You don't get a choice now. And what a difference that will make for the families of the addicts who live in fear. But not only do we have we taken a different approach, but already we're seeing lives saved, drastic declines in opioid deaths. So this is from Michael. I've got a different article on my screen. It's Michael Schellenberger's, who wrote a book on the failure of drug policy in San Francisco. He looked at what they call the Alberta model and compared it to BC. And he said, all indications are that Alberta is getting it right. From 2021 to 2022, which is when we really took a strong approach on this, overdose deaths in the province dropped by 17%. In the same period, British Columbia saw only a 1.4% reduction. Here's where it gets really good, because this is when we really ramped up our treatment beds and we started changing laws and said there will be, and upping police presence in the downtown. We deployed provincial sheriffs downtown. In January 2023, the latest month for which data is available in Alberta, overdose deaths dropped to 111 from 172 in the same period last year. So that's 61 lives saved year over year. What is that, a 1/3 reduction in overdose deaths? By having police presence in the downtown, ramping up treatment beds, and then now with the threat of going to forced drug treatment, these numbers are going to improve even more. In April this year, BC counted 206 overdose deaths, a 17% increase over April 2022. So BC, since they decriminalized hard drugs, more people are dying, and they call it harm reduction. In Alberta, we said opposite approach, more cops, more treatment. We're going to force you into treatment, and our overdose deaths are going down. These are lives saved. That's 61 families.
You said it all, Sheila. And thank goodness, again, for the results of Monday night in your province. Because what do you want to bet with a Rachel Notley regime? All of that good work would be reversed.
She said it would be. She said it would be. She said that we are going to take a harm reduction approach, which means you have a government employee giving vulnerable people a poison by which they can kill themselves in a safe government facility.
Unbelievable. So the results from an expert are saying this is working. We're going to tear it down and put in something that doesn't work. That sounds like NDP thinking to me, actually, Sheila.
Yes, and it's liberal thinking, because they just voted to affirm that it is fine for BC to decriminalize hard drugs because it's compassion, it's harm reduction, and he claims there's evidence. Well, there's evidence all over the place of the opposite, especially if you look up and down the West Coast.
Well, maybe you should send that link of that article to the kayak kid, if he can put his paddles down for a second and read it, see what the real evidence indicates. Maybe he wouldn't make a fool of himself in the House. Unbelievable. Sheila, do we have any chats?
Yeah, we do. But imagine being a family of a drug addict and listening to Adam Van Coverden say, that thing you're asking us for, help, you're not getting it. We're giving them drugs instead. Like, imagine the desperation of those families. Like, it just makes you want to throttle him. But you won't. You just won't. Okay, Mike Mike Freedom Funny, this is Mike Mayer. I know that he sent you a care package, David Menzies.
Yes, and you know what, Mike? I have it in the trunk of the Green Goblin. I'm going to bring it to the next show Sheila and I host. I want to show off some of your beautiful merchandise. I really appreciate what you gave me. That's fantastic. I really do appreciate that, Mike.
Okay, great. Let's read his chat. $5. Great job on the election coverage, guys. It's now been 2 days, and the NDP leftist meltdowns on Twitter are a thing of beauty. Nice studio, by the way. Yeah, it's pouring rain here in Alberta, and it just feels like NDP tears are washing across the land.
Thank you so much, Mike. And to paraphrase John Lennon, because what people might not know, Sheila, Mike is a beekeeper. So all I have to say is, all we are saying is give bees a chance.
Mike, I should tell you that David Menzies, his terrible jokes, his favorite emoji is the bee emoji. And for some reason, he can no longer find it on his phone. So now he just texts me the word. Like, I think it means bee thanking you. That's why he sends it to me. But now he just sends me the word bee. B-E-E. And I'm supposed to realize that this is David Menzies' way of saying thank you, because he lost the bee emoji in his iPhone somewhere.
I don't know what happened.
This is a true story.
Maybe I have to update my phone or something. I don't know.
I don't know, David. Anyway, let's keep going. World's Worst Gamer gives us $1. Anthony Bass showed he was a smallmouth bass and bent the knee. Yep. Yep. fair enough. A lot of fish jokes today. A lot of fish
I
jokes.
know.
That's the universe in action, isn't it?
Well, it's National Fisherfolk Day, Sheila.
I know. Kenzie67 gives us $5. There's a 3-letter agency, CSA, that uses social credit system for corporations to ensure they conform to the ideology. If not, they will be outcast, basically. Guess where it originates? Soros.
Yep.
Okay.
Does that surprise you?
No. No, not at all. Fraser McBurney, this Fight the Fines recidivist, Fraser, but also Fight the Fines winner, Fraser, who loves his cap locks, and he's from Hamilton, and he loves to protest. $5. Have you seen Viva Fry's interview with Yeonmi Park, the North Korean 13-year-old girl who escaped North Korea to get her freedom here? Here's the link.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Yes, and I've seen her interviewed in some other places too. Some of the Christian podcasts that I listen to, just speaking of the horrors there. I see there are some, I bet you, pro-China, kind of pro-North Korean by proxy activists out there trying to debunk some parts of her story. And I can't attest to her truthfulness, but I just think, whatever we know about North Korea, it's probably much, much worse.
And by the way, to Fraser, I want to say congratulations, Fraser. I don't know if you're aware, but the CAA came out with its worst roads in Ontario. And numero uno is in Steeltown in Hamilton, Barton Street, I believe. And given some of the ne'er-do-wells that hang around there, I am strongly suggesting that the Walking Dead people consider Hamilton as is to film more episodes, because we're already getting near post-apocalyptic view right now, Sheila. So way to go, Hamilton.
Well, they used downtown Edmonton for The Last of Us, and I was like, that's a little on the nose.
I didn't know that.
They did. You can see the legislature all decayed, and I was like, that's my dream. When the politicians have no place to go to work. I'm cheering for the apocalypse if it means the legislature is defunct. Zero Enoch Zero, or O Enoch O, I'm not sure. $2. Enoch from Golan Heights. Oh, the Golan. Wow. I got very nauseous on a bus trip in the Golan because your roads are so windy, and it was very hot, and I was very car sick. Anyway, that's a little story. Can you guys let me know how to get in touch to meet up when you're in Israel in September? I did message Rebel from the website, but no reply. Enoch, can you send me an email? Sheila@rebelnews.com. Send it to me, and I will pass it up the supply chain if you wouldn't mind.
And I believe if I got my dates right, Sheila, we're leaving, I think it's the day after Labor Day in September. So it's early September.
Yes, I've already started buying gravel.
Okay. There you go.
Yes, and I think that's it. I think we're all caught up.
All right. I know you got to get going. And what can I say? Love the new studio. And I love super producers Olivia and Efren. But you look incredibly photogenic today, Sheila. That's another word for lovely, which I'm not allowed to use in the workplace, I understand. So, but somebody texted me this message. How much do you charge to haunt a house? And I think what he's referring to is I look like some great white ghost. I'm either anemic or on the precipice of death. Not yet. By the way, Sheila, do you know what the answer is for how much do you charge to haunt a house?
No.
How many rooms does it have? So you see, it's okay.
I see it.
And then you ask.
You know what it is, David?
What?
I'll tell you the problem, and maybe you can rectify this next time. Your flesh is the same color as your shirt or as your tie, and your face is a little bit too close in color to the background behind you. So you don't.
You're right.
And your hair. Your hair is also the same color as the wall behind you. So I don't know. You have to fix that for next time.
Well, we know makeup-wise Justin Trudeau would have a solution, but I'm not going to do that, Sheila. Not a chance.
No.
So anyways, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you especially to those who gave us a contribution. Greatly appreciated. Thank you again to Olivia and Efron, even though they're making me look like some character out of Scooby-Doo right now with the lighting, but we can fix that. And of course, to my co-host, I'll be back here tomorrow, folks, with another Rebel News personality. And in the meantime, as always, stay safe and stay sane.
Can a Canadian still have confidence in David Johnston if all other parties in the House say they don't have confidence in him?
It's understandable that the political parties want to make partisan points on this, but the fact of the matter is David Johnston has served this country in extraordinary capacities for decades. He's chosen a number of times for the most important jobs by Stephen Harper himself. And he's a man who, as the report shows, has taken this incredibly seriously and gathered all the intelligence necessary. What we've highlighted is that intelligence is available for the leaders of the opposition parties to avail themselves of, to understand what underpins the very good report that Mr. Johnston put out, and the fact that they're choosing to be able to continue to play partisan games instead of getting read into the actual facts of the matter shows that they're not taking